Hi, I'm Dr. Jill McCracken. And thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, committee. I know it's been a long time, so thanks for listening. I'm here to speak in support of the bill. I'm professor of rhetoric and gender and sexuality studies at the University of South Florida in St. Petersburg. I've been researching prostitution, sex work, and trafficking in the sex industry for the past 15 years. And I began this research to better understand how we can reduce violence and exploitation in the industry. That was my primary goal. If this commission is approved, we can collate and enhance our evidence-based research. You all have the opportunity to do that, which is very exciting, and it's desperately needed in the U.S. My first book, Street Sex Workers Discourse, was based on my research with street-based sex workers. And under criminalization, which I know you've heard a lot about, prostitution is currently pushed into the shadows. It actually creates the conditions where tremendous abuse, exploitation, and violence can occur. And that's what we want to learn more about in the study. Within the U.S., specifically the U.S., we know very little about how alternative legislative systems might work in relationship to prostitution. During the fall of 2018, I was thrilled and very excited to spend 3 months in New Zealand on a Fulbright specialist grant. My goal there, the job of the Fulbright grant, was to look at a legislative system and to better understand its impact on violence and trafficking in the sex industry. I'm only going to note one finding in particular. None of the sex workers I spoke with had experienced any violence at the hands of police. That was astonishing to me. They found that they had the impetus and the reason to go forward if they were experiencing some kind of abuse or coercion, and many of them had gone to the police, and they had direct relationships with speaking with the police. Street-based sex workers would actually say the police would come by and do rounds and say, "Hey, how you doing?" And they'd say, "We're doing okay." So they felt comfortable going forward. That was an amazing study that I was able to do, and I think that we have the opportunity here to do the same kind of study, right? As other people have said, much of the research has not had sex workers and victims of trafficking at the forefront, and that's what this commission does, and I think it's incredibly important. You guys have the opportunity, excuse me for my not proper English, you all have the opportunity actually to be a foreleader and come in the forefront in terms of fighting trafficking. You guys can actually take a stand and say, let's look at this. Let's look at our laws and how they not only impact sex workers, adult consensual sex workers, but victims of trafficking. So I urge you to support this crucial legislation, which would lead to discovering best practices and perhaps implementing them here in Rhode Island and hopefully in other places. We all want the full realization of rights for all persons, especially the right to freedom from violence and exploitation. Thank you so much for your time and consideration of this important issue.